All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. One of the things I've been talking about a lot lately is how it's nice to have new guests on the show who are new to the podcast and I've never talked to before. But it's all equally as good to kind of catch up with guests who have been on in the past, sometimes multiple times, and just sort of find out what they're up to, find out how things have changed in the time between episodes and things like that. And so the guest on this one is one of my favorite guests on the podcast. I've had you on, I think, 3 or 4 times at least now, and I'm always happy to talk to you and find out what you're up to. And I think the best way to start this off is if you want to just introduce yourself and then maybe just give a bit of background about what it is that you do, because I know what you
Yeah,
do, and
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of listeners do as well. But there might be some who are experiencing you for the first time.
Well, my name is Quinton Blair. I am a country music singer, songwriter, and we're starting a bunch of new stuff. So I add into the back of that singer, songwriter slash backcountry guide. So we've got horses and do all that kind of stuff. So we kind of range from folky country to country, somewhere in that
Yeah, yeah.
wheelhouse.
Well, that maybe is a great place to start, is the backcountry guide side of things. Because I've seen you posting about that on social media and online.
Mhm.
And I think that one of the things that comes across in your music is that you have this very authentic connection to the lifestyle that you're singing about. And I think that that's maybe something, especially when you're talking about people in the city. I mean, Manitoba obviously is a big province. There's lots of areas outside of Winnipeg, but those of us in the city tend to focus on the city so heavily, including a lot of people who are singing country western music and talking about those themes. But you're actually
Mhm.
you got the horses. I saw you had a goat the other day. I mean, there's animals. There's wildlife. There's you're out in the country. What is the deal with the guide thing?
Well, the guide thing came about 2 years ago because we got a whole string of horses and we do a bunch of trail riding south of Austin, Manitoba. So that put it about an hour and a half outside of Winnipeg.
Okay.
And there's some great wildlife management areas out there that we end up just exploring. Just kind of that's our own little thing. We like to do backcountry camping and we love to do stuff with the horses. And we were riding along one day. My partner Vanessa says, "Wow, we got this great string of horses. Like, it's a shame no one comes to ride with us." And I'm like, yeah, that is a shame. And that kind of got my wheels turning. And actually, what we've now done, and it's funny that we're talking today because today is the day that it became official.
Cool.
We are Woodside Outfitters, which is and a backcountry entertainment and education company. So we'll do things like these backcountry concerts where we'll pull up at a trailhead and we'll have that ridge over there. I'm going to play my guitar up on there when the sun goes down. If you want to ride a horse of mine, or if you want to hike up there, if you want to snowshoe, I don't care how you get up there, we're going to be up there. And it's basically a lot of people come and want to ride horses with us.
Yeah.
But what's happening is actually we're not like necessarily like a trail riding outfit. We're actually putting on a concert in the back country to get people there and get people camping, get people outside,
That's cool.
enjoying all that kind of stuff and exploring man, that area, it does not look like your typical, Manitoba. I've got a bunch of friends who, just meeting online through social media, kind of similar accounts. So a bunch of friends who do this kind of stuff in like Alberta, BC, just that backcountry trail riding, camping, horses.
Yeah.
And they're going, my goodness, I can't believe that your photos are from Manitoba, because that's not what I picture Manitoba to be. And
Well,
man,
there's
I
a
love our,
stereotype, right? There's a stereotype of
yeah,
what Manitoba looks like.
but I love our province, but it's so diverse, and people, I don't think, actually get to experience the diversity of it. So this whole venture of Woodside Outfitters is basically boutique level because we want to keep it small. We don't want to have 20, 30 people coming out at a
Of course.
time. This is actually basically private concerts for two, right? Two people come out, couple or whatever, friends, whatever, and bring a bottle of wine or whatever and just sit there, watch the sun go down, and I'll play some music and maybe we'll ride some horses, maybe we'll hike, maybe we'll drive, like whatever it takes to kind of get back there. And so it's been an interesting balance to try to figure out all of the moving parts as to what as actually involved. Are we a venue? Are
Right.
we, like what are we? So, but yeah, it's almost like we're a venue.
That's
It's
cool.
almost like we're a venue with no fixed address.
I like that. I like that. The whole concept is great. What is it like for you to perform somewhere like that? I mean, where like you said, it's scenery that people maybe don't expect out of Manitoba, and you're just sort of out there playing songs. What is that like for you as an artist?
Well, I mean, like a lot of people, if they come to that point, it's a lot of people who are familiar with my music
Yeah,
or
of course. Yeah.
familiar with me just from life. So they
Do
kind
you
of
get
know
a vibe from
what
it?
I'm
I
about.
guess though. Do you get like a vibe of being outdoors while this is all happening?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But there's so much freedom in it because
Sure.
it's not like we specialize. I always tell people we specialize in rodeo dances and country fairs. Like we never play in Winnipeg, like
Yeah.
maybe once or twice a year. Other than that, we will still play 60 shows all over rural Manitoba. We've been up, we used to play over 100 shows a year, and I just peeled that back, going, I don't want to be on the road that much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that balance as far as what we do. But so people come out, they know what it's like to kind of see me play, but there's so much freedom because I have no pressure to fill a dance floor
Yeah.
to do, and so I can just kind of run through my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling some Coulter Wall right now, and I'll play some Coulter Wall, or I'll, play Stapleton, or I'll play, hey, here's a song of mine that I haven't played in forever, or here's one I wrote last week and I think you'd like it. And a lot of times people even say, hey, like, this is our wedding song. So if I knew that they're coming out in advance, I'll actually just learn the song for them.
That's awesome.
They don't even know it's coming, or one of them doesn't know it's coming because I only get the information from one person.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
And so it's like a surprise to their partner there, that all of a sudden they're dancing to their wedding song around a campfire on a hill in the middle of nowhere overlooking the Assiniboine River, and the horses are just chewing grass in the background.
Yeah.
And we're just, man, it's living life. Like that is, I've always been probably like, when you're into horses and stuff like that, there's a lot of like, oh, are you into like English riding or show jumping, or are you like a cowboy and you're into like rodeo and stuff like that? I'm like, I'm kind of into Western stuff. Like I'm big into Western stuff.
Of
but
course, yeah.
Like I don't really get, like, it's not my favorite thing. My favorite thing is to be camping in the woods with my horses. So I'll take that every day versus, going team roping or going to a rodeo. As much as I enjoy that, it's just, that's different. I enjoy, I appreciate bushcrafting skills. I appreciate self-reliance. I appreciate being in places where I have no cell phone and I'm 100% dependent on my own ability to get me and those who are with me back safely. So,
and I guess that's probably part of the appeal to a lot of people as well, is that, a lot of people these days, especially because you have a cell phone with everything you need on it, don't have that experience of just being able to, do it themselves to that level, because everything's so automated. And so, you pull up GPS on your phone, you can, all that stuff, right? It's
yeah,
that whole world you're talking about is kind of missing for a lot of people today.
Yeah. And I like that because it gets me away from work. It gets me away from my cell phone beeping. It gets me off of social media, and it just allows me, like, it was it's far too cold this January, but last January went winter camping with my daughter, and it was amazing because at 4:30 we're in the tent.
Yeah.
Still not going to bed till 9:30. So we literally played games by the fire for 5 hours straight. And we had this amazing time. She's learning to cook on the fire, and I'll do this. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do the dishes after, and we'll play games and just talk and hang out, and the dogs are there, and it's just like this memory. And then we went on July long weekend, same thing, camping, take the kids out, and it's plus 40, and it's just like, oh my goodness, we are dying in the heat, but everyone's laughing, everyone's having fun, and you're kind of building these memories. So that's kind of who I am. And this plan with Woodside Outfitters is, that's that we're building that business now for 10 years into the future. That's where we'll be. That's what I'll be doing. Like, that'll be my job, I'm hoping.
That'd be a great job. Be a great thing to do full time. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, go ahead.
Well, we'd set a small goal last year of trying to put on 10 of these events, and we ended up putting on 10 of them, and it was perfect. And we went from May until October. And, now we're starting up. We got rides going out next weekend already. We're going to start doing that kind of thing. Those concerts are happening along the side of a trailer, or maybe we have to actually go into a building to.
Yeah, it depends on how bad the weather is, right? Yeah.
We'll figure figure that all out in the day. But that's the beautiful part too, is that there's no fixed address. So
Yeah.
we had it last year a couple of times where there's a storm coming through here. Now here's the advantage of technology. We can scout out already what the weather map is projecting the storm to go. And so we'll ride up on this ridge over here and we'll watch the storm go past us.
Oh, cool.
But we won't actually get rained on. So it's been kind of like fun to do stuff like that. And you know, we still definitely use technology to our advantage, but it's nice when I'm not, you know, checking emails and the phone's not beeping on nonstop. So
yeah, that's a good break from that for sure.
yeah.
So I was going to ask though, is I mean, the timing of this, I mean, the timing has been shit for everyone because of what everyone's dealing with in the world with the pandemic and everything. And you have somehow come up with this thing that can be socially distanced because you're outside, you're on horses. There's only, you know, there's 2 people coming, and it seems like the perfect kind of solution to do something like this in a time where doing a lot of things, like playing shows, for example, the traditional way, are just kind of out the window.
Well, and the other part of it too is that because of the travel restrictions that people have been seeing for the last couple of years, like our camping program through the Manitoba government or wherever you book your campsites through, that thing's booked up. Like you're waiting in line for hours just to book a campsite. Well, I mean, when we go, like, there's no booking. I'm just going to go and camp, right? I mean, we're camping on Crown land in a way that just, there's no restriction in how we do this. So, yeah, it kind of just allows us to explore that ecotourism, experience Manitoba. It's beautiful. But I mean, the whole goal of it in the future is to be able to say, hey, someone wants to ride up in the Duck Mountains. Perfect. Well, let's go ride in the Duck Mountains. And you want to go ride Turtle Mountain? Perfect. Let's do Sandylands. Let's do, like, because it's just horses in a trailer, right? And I'll find a spot anywhere to go play a concert. It'll be wherever you want to go.
You've played in my basement, so yeah. I mean,
that's right.
It works, right? I mean, you're playing a type of music where you can be just you and a guitar, and it can be as rewarding to listen to as a full band show, right?
But and you know me too, that I'm a like a storyteller,
of course,
and I want to get to know the people who are there, and then I want to play my show for them. Right. It's healing for my heart, because then I get to play. I'm not restricted by anything. Oh, you got to play this song. You got to play this song. I don't got to play anything I don't want to play. I can focus on you and say, okay, this is a song that I think is going to resonate with you, or this is your age. This is your if you got to be into country music if you're coming to do this with me. So
you would hope, right? It seems like a prerequisite. Yeah.
That's right. But that's what it's been. Everyone who's been coming has been, it's all been people who know me through music. So, you know, it kind of creates a very interesting opportunity with people who would be your fans, who you don't necessarily know well.
Yeah.
And now you're going camping with them. And now you're taking people from who are like just being like an acquaintance to being a friend, but not just a friend. Like that's a long-term memory that you're building with people. So
you've had this one of a kind experience. I mean, like you said, no concert's going to be the same because you're doing songs that you want to play and you want them to hear, right? So and they want to hear as well. So yeah,
we spent a lot of time trying to go down. I mean, essentially, the long and short of it is, I really just want to marry the use of horses and music, and I want to use my music for good. Right. So there's a lot of times where as a musician, you can be going out and you can be playing a bar and you can be 2 a.m. in Merrifield, Saskatchewan or something like that. And you're just like, what am I doing here? Like everyone, like I know, whatever. We had a good time. I got to play some songs, met some good people. It was great. Not picking on Merrifield, but just, you know, like, but then like, what did I really accomplish in the night? You know, everyone at the end, you're so good. Well, it gets, I want something more from music. And so we're actually trying to go down the line of forming a nonprofit and really trying to offer this as just a free thing for people to come and do. Like we'll find the way to run the business, the financing, the grants or whatever on the back end. But we want to focus on people who need this experience right now, whether their relationship is in trouble, whether they've been through trauma before, whether they've just PTSD, and you can have that from anything from a job that would have it, like military, RC, or anything, nurses, healthcare.
Sure.
You can have all these kinds of people kind of going through stuff, but you can also have things like teachers, you can have stay-at-home moms and or parents that are just like, what do we like? We need that kind of a break. So we really wanted to go down that road. The red tape on that is just
I believe
enough
it.
to push somebody out of it and just go, you know what? I'm going to do my best to make this something for sure while we're building it, something that we can just offer at such a reduced cost that it doesn't really make sense to do it, but at the same point, you feel good about what you're doing and going, you know
Yeah.
what, I'm 10 years from now, I want to have a business where this is kind of what I do. And there's actually a way that people can come when they ride with us, when we're working through the performance contract, there's an opportunity for them to sponsor someone else to ride. So
Okay.
they can basically, hey, kick in some money here, and then this person kicks in money, and then we go, you know what? Okay, now we got the costs covered on a ride. Let's go find someone just kind of like, it's not like an application process or anything, but then we can let those people know, hey, look, we were able to fill that ride, and someone's able to come out and just appreciate that. Because when I go to the woods, it's healing for me, right? I get there and it's peace, it's quiet, it's this like the creak of the saddle leather, and it's the footfalls of the horses, and then you look around and that you see the birds, there's deer in the fields, you watch the dogs running up and down along with you, you kind of make some light conversation, and then you go back to just kind of experiencing this quiet. And it's like, man, that is what my soul needs. We went riding last weekend or the weekend before, kind of caught a nice break in the weather, and I came out of the woods just so pumped. Like,
Yeah.
I have not been in the woods like that it's been a tough winter. Normally we're in the woods all the time, and it's just been too cold to be out there. So we kind of want to have that experience, just sharing what the woods can do, just to give you that inner peace, right? With all that's going on in the world today, get away from it for a little bit and let yourself breathe and see what's around you.
That's a really cool idea. I'm glad you're doing it, and I'm glad you have this ambition to make it, more than it already is, in the future. It's great to hear. How is this whole project? How has this affected your main gig as an original artist? Writing songs. I know shows aren't happening. There's been a
Yeah,
few pure pockets where shows could happen in the past 2 years, but really, there's not
yeah.
much, right? So how is that side of your musical career going?
Honestly, I try to embrace it that it's not happening, because if this break from COVID didn't force me to analyze where I was at and
Yeah,
going, was I happy with what I was doing before? Yeah, I was. I'll definitely say that I was happy. But could I see myself doing that for 20 years? No, I couldn't sustain that. So there's a certain element within me that said, okay, we're going to keep doing this, but we're going to do it differently now. And we're going to find different elements to connect with people, to
yeah,
build lifelong relationships with people who kind of align with the music that we play. But at the same point, change the delivery method a little bit so that I'm not gone all the time, because that's the downside of not playing local, is that
sure.
you're always traveling. So a typical weekend for us in the summertime is like, we'll play Arberg on one night, and then we'll play Moosomin the next night, and then we'll play, Marchand the following. And it's just like, whoa. And then the next weekend is going to be Kenora, and then Regina. And it's like, what? Man, we just live in a truck driving back and forth. And it's
And you've done this
all,
for years and years now. I mean, this is not like a one-time thing. This is your life as a musician.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, you can't control when these events happen. And like I said,
Sure.
because we play all these rodeos, like rodeos can't happen in town A and town B on the same weekend. They have to be 3 to 4 hours apart,
Yeah.
because that way they can have two going on the same weekend, and the contestants change, but there's no overlap with the draw for the audience. So we're kind of chasing that same road, just back and forth and up and down and left and right. And you're just like, you know what? I'm okay to ride my horse a little bit more and travel a little bit less, but
Yeah.
still play music the entire time. But it's funny because I've always struggled with playing like that. I don't really play Western music. All of my songs have a Western element to them. Very
Mhm.
often I'll talk about stuff or farming or horses or anything. Like, I'll talk about that stuff all the time, but I don't necessarily write songs that are fully engulfed in something like that. So I've always kind of walked the line between folk music and country music.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I love storytelling. I love a really great crafted song. I'm a big fan of, you know, the Guy Clarks and the John Prines and the Gordon Lightfoots. And, you know, like it's, those guys are the guys who really kind of speak to me. At the same point, I grew up as a kid listening to 90s country. So I am
Sure.
equally influenced by, you know, Garth Brooks and Brooks and Dunn, and you
And
know,
you can't erase that. That's stuck in your brain, right? It's not going to go anywhere.
I can't even try to not do it. If someone says play a Garth Brooks song, like we did this at a campfire one time where someone say, hey, okay, Garth Brooks. And so I played Garth Brooks, then I played another, then I played another. And then I challenged myself and I said, can I play Garth Brooks for the rest of the night? And I did. Because I was that big of a fan in the 90s. But I can't get away from that. And so it's funny that, you know, we've got new music coming out. I'm really happy with some of the opportunities we've had to get some work going. Worked with Dwayne Thompson. He's from down in Tennessee. And cool. He just wrote a song that went to #1 on Billboard, the Billboard country charts. He wrote it #1. Like that's, who do we know who wrote a #1 hit, right?
Not very many people.
No. And so a Canadian guy who's down there. And so we got to go down and do some writing, doing some work with him, and then doing some work in Toronto as well with a group of guys from Sharp 9 Productions. So we've enjoyed that process, but at the same time, we're still passing around more of the kind of rootsy kind of stuff. Those songs are definitely more geared to trying to get on the radio. Okay. And but I'm still that rootsy kind of guy too. So me and the band are still working on stuff on our own, and we actually remote record, and I'll do some tracks and send it down to Winkler, to my drummer Mike, and he'll take some passes on it. We'll go back and forth and trade it around. So we're still working on music, but writing, that's been the struggle. I wish Rich Inman was living here, because he came out and first time we wrote together, we wrote this I think it's a great song. He thinks it's a great song. He put it on his last album. Cool. We're working on it right now, so it'll go on to one of my albums too. But it's just, when you're not out on the road all the time, you're not thinking about it the same. So I'm struggling to actually be a songwriter these days, and I'm more apt to, like, well, let's build the business for Woodside Outfitters, or let's just, you know, go and learn some songs or play some music. But it's not the same as when you're in the grind. Yeah. Okay, I got 12 shows on the calendar. I want to put these 4 songs into the set list. And then, you know, while you're driving to all these shows, you get these song ideas. I can't tell you how many songs I've started or completely written just driving in a vehicle. So yeah. When you're not out there doing it, it just doesn't hit the same. I was looking at Zach Lucky. He's a friend of mine out in Aurelia, Ontario. And I mean, he was just posting the other day just about how, you know, it's a battle, right? Yeah. To be a songwriter right now. Like, why are you writing a song? Why are we recording songs? Well, now we kind of feel like we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But last year, for the last 18 months, why would you even release music if you can't even tour it? Right. So, you know,
how are you getting it to people other than just putting it online and hoping someone finds it, right?
And then you're just relying on streams at that point, and it's not at all the same. So, I mean, hats off to the guys who were able to do that, guys who were able to squeak in some tours here and there. Like, man, like that's fantastic. But we just kind of took that. We still played shows last year. We still probably played 10, 15 shows last summer, but it's not the same. That's not, we're used to just always going, always having dates on the calendar. But it's nice, the phone's starting to ring again. So, you know, we're already booking up this summer, got a bunch on the books already, which is good. Looking forward to that. I mean, it's also a backlog of people who phoned for the last 2 years and tried to book stuff, and we just
you just can't. Right? Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say you had the songwriting part is the struggle now, because I've always thought of you as being a songwriter. I mean, more than a singer, more than a guitar player, you're a storyteller, as you've said. And I mean, the songwriting aspect of it comes across a lot. I kind of think of you and Del Barber as sort of like two sides of the same coin, where he's doing the same sort of storytelling, the same sort of locally focused. There's a very distinct place in all of his songs, and the characters are extremely fleshed out, even in a short song. But he's going more towards folk, and you're going more towards country. But you both blend both styles, and so it's interesting to hear you say that the songwriting is tough, because that's always seemed to me as a listener to be the really what kind of makes me gravitate towards your music.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think it's just sheerly a matter of the lifestyle right now. And it's almost like you'd figure that we've got all this time kicking around, and
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? I just probably spend more hours at my day job now than I did before. And, we spend, like I said, more time with horses, more time with animals, more time with kids too. And that's
It's
that's
nice.
always a
Yeah.
great thing. So
Yeah.
like, it's not like I'm complaining. I'm just not sitting in my studio at 11 o'clock at night with a pen in my hand. And that's usually when I write.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, that's what's not happening right now. But it's not often that I'm kicking around these lines where I'm like, oh, that's a great song. Oh man, I saw this happen the other night. Yeah, that's going to be a good song. And
Yeah.
I used to always joke that I write songs about people I know and people I've experienced in music.
Sure.
And now that I'm not experiencing music myself, I've my inspiration's dried up, but it's because I write so many songs about people that I meet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's obviously why the characters are so well fleshed out in your songs too, is because they're obviously based on a real person, not just a figment, of your imagination.
Yep.
There's a backstory kind of built into the songs
Yep.
because you're
Absolutely.
focusing on actual people.
Yeah.
What I mean, obviously, I can't predict, and nor can anyone, what's going to happen with the pandemic and the future. Hopefully, shows start happening in en masse sooner rather than later. But I mean, who knows, right? So, what is your plan for this new music you've been working on? Because it's everything is still unknown. Like, do you have sort of a longer timeline than maybe you usually would have had to get this out there? Or
Oh yeah, we've been sitting on stuff for a long time already. We were actually gearing up right when COVID hit. We were gearing up for our In for a Mill campaign, which was our opportunity to go. And it's kind of funny, the all these plans for this Woodside Outfitters outdoors or backcountry entertainment company. Where we want to use music for good. I mean, that was started before COVID hit, and we wanted to go around and play community fundraisers because
right?
the Treeherne Pool needs a new liner and the Marchand Community Club needs a new roof. And, we wanted to help all these people put on events to help them raise money. And we were going up to Dauphin to raise money for the women's shelter. And we literally got the phone call 10:30 at night saying, there's this thing called COVID and all venues are closed. So don't come tomorrow. We had the trailer loaded, meeting the guys, everyone's meeting at the Flying J for 8 o'clock, and we're on our way, and it killed the whole thing. So we put hours and hours of work and effort into that, only to have the rug pulled. And then we're like, well, let's reschedule into the fall time, and we'll pick it up then. And the rug got pulled again, and finally just
Sure.
said, once bitten, twice shy. And it's like, why would I bother? Until I
Yeah.
know we're open, I can't. It's one thing when people call me and say, can you play the show on July the 8th? And you're like, yeah, I can. Because there's nothing on my part to do it. I got to do some social media posts before then. I got to make sure the band is good, but it's not a lot of work. But when you're putting together your own tours and you're lining up all your own press and you're doing like all that DIY musician stuff, there's so many hours that go into it. I was actually driving to each one of these communities in advance of the tour. So it's like Dauphin and back one day, and then
Yeah.
Arbergen back.
That's a drive.
And
Yeah.
we're just,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure that we're establishing that community connection. I want to know the people who we're working with. I want to know who's coming to the show. What kind of, opportunities do we have for sponsorships at the show to really make a difference for these people? So, there's a lot of work that ultimately just, when the rug got pulled, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'll sit tight till I know we can do it again.
Is that sort of the plan going forward? Is just basically sort of wait and see what's
Yeah.
happening, and then adjust accordingly? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did make that promise that I was going to make $1 million before I retired, and I just lost 2 years of that.
You still got some time.
Yeah, but I still got to make sure that I got my ducks in a row. But even still, as much as the momentum that you carry as an artist, like that just helps you propel forward. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm starting from just square one. Let's learn how to turn these tires one time over. And I mean, this new music that's coming out, I'm really happy with it. And it's whatever. I feel every time you don't put out music if you don't think it's going to open up a door for you somewhere or extend your career or your reach. So I'm really excited about what's coming down the line, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Do you put the music out and there's another variant or there's another something that just kind of shuts us down. And I kind of feel like we're probably getting to that point where who knows? I don't even really want to talk about.
Yeah, I know. I'm sick.
I don't know.
I'm sick of talking about it every single episode I do, but it's I mean, I'm interviewing musicians, right? It's affected everybody I've had in the podcast in the past 2 years. And it's funny going back to some of the early ones at the beginning when I started doing these remote calls. In the intros and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this for now. In a couple of weeks, go back to meeting people in person. It hasn't happened, and it's weird. It's weird that life as it seemed only a couple of years ago is completely drastically different. But
we would have never thought about this.
No,
we would have never done an interview like this.
Never.
But yeah,
it works though, right? I mean, the cool thing about it is that like people are finding solutions. I can still do the podcast even though I can't necessarily go to people's houses or jam spaces or whatever every week, and you can still do your music in this sort of new way you've decided to present it. So I mean, people are adapting, I guess, and still doing what they're passionate about, just in weird kind of ways.
Yeah, and I think that's actually the innovators kind of really find their stride in the midst of all this. And I mean, I can't imagine that, playing concerts for 2 people right now is like, I mean, maybe that is my stride. Maybe that is what it's going to be. But as an artist, you're always trying to reach more people. But at the same point, you're trying to reach people with meaningful connection.
Yeah. So, and this is a deeper connection than just being one of 500 people at a show, hearing the same set you've done, the past 5 shows, right? This is it's so unique and personal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's fun. We'll see how this kind of summer plays out on that horseback side of things, but it's definitely always got my mind turning. I guess that's one thing too that I'm grateful for, because my mind is notorious for just not stopping, and usually it's about music somehow, and I guess it technically kind of still is, but it's nice to have, I guess, find something to keep my attention on. Maybe that's what I like. So maybe I'm not writing the songs right now, but my mind is still staying engaged in my career. That's probably what's happening.
So if people want to find out more about this, I mean, if someone hears this and is like, oh, that sounds amazing. First of all, how do they find out about the backcountry stuff? How do they get in touch with you? And then also, how do they find your music? Because I mean, I know you're not playing shows right now, but the good thing about this being a podcast is someone could hear it a year from now, and hopefully by then you're out doing shows on a regular basis again. So I mean, the 2 things though. So how to get in touch with you both ways, and then hear you and find out what you're up to.
Yeah. I mean, we're on all the major streaming platforms for the moment. Everyone, all that stuff that's happening with Spotify right now is I'm kind of watching that with interest. In fact, I downloaded Tidal the other day, thinking about moving to that as my streaming source, just because I like the algorithm. I know that as an artist, like Spotify is terrible for pay and whatever, and it's interesting to watch almost a flood of socially relevant people pull their music, right? So it starts with Neil Young. And I'm sure the guys at Spotify are going, Neil Young, who cares if we pull Neil Young's record off of Spotify? I don't care. See a Neil. And what they don't understand is that Neil is the godfather of grunge music. And he speaks heavily into the influence, even probably reaching into guys like Dave Grohl. And so what Neil does influences all these other people. And I think that is just such an amazing legacy to have. That just speaks to the legacy of Neil Young. It's not about his songs, it's about his influence onto the people who just cherish him, right? So I'm watching that whole thing unwind just in just in fascination, really. Just kind of going like, man, something needed to happen. And Neil's been pushing for higher quality streaming since day one, right?
For decades now.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, was this his opportunity to say, look, I told you were wrong. Now I've had enough. And so who knows kind of how that happens. Long story short, we're still on all the major streaming platforms. YouTube, social media. Quinton Blair is my kind of music personal accounts, and then quintonblair.com, and then we also have woodsideoutfitters.ca, and then also on Facebook and Instagram as well with Woodside Outfitters. I tried the TikTok thing.
I've tried it too. I don't get it. I think it's just beyond me. I'm too old. I post stuff on there, but I don't know how to do any of the things it's meant for.
Yeah. It is interesting though, because the algorithm, again, like I get fascinated by the algorithm, and that's what I like about Spotify, is that I can just hit play and it's going to find artists that I've never heard of, but that I love. The second that it comes on,
Right.
I'm like, who is this? And I love that, because it allows me to explore and find so many different artists that I now love. But it is, it's with TikTok, I can't get my head around the trends, and I get tired of hearing the same 7 songs all the time. But
yeah, over and over again, the same clip of the same song.
Yeah, I don't get that. But the algorithm is so good that once it learns you, it's like, holy cow, this is scary though.
Yeah.
That an algorithm, and I can then interact or engage my level of enjoyment based on how good that algorithm is written. That's messed up.
It's kind of messed up. Yeah. That everything's being tailored to us, to like individually, rather than just, oh, here's Canadian men of this age group. It's like, no, they're talking to you personally. And it's weird. But on the Neil Young thing, just before I let you go here, because we should wrap it up. But when I first read that, I immediately, I've never used Spotify. I don't have the I can't get with the streaming, right? Because I'm set in my ways and I'm stubborn.
No, man, you're the coolest, because you just take on, like, okay, here's the record of the day. We're gonna listen to these 3 CDs today. That's what we're doing.
What I did was I went and got all my Neil Young stuff out, and I have 30 records of his, like, between vinyl and CD, and this is like a tiny fraction of his catalog. And it just kind of made me think, like, there's a lot of music that's just being removed from that service that because of his convictions and his reasons for doing it, and his strong stance he's always kind of had as an artist, is those are gone from a lot of people's ears now. Like a lot of younger people who maybe don't have the records. I've got them all on a shelf like a nerd, and I can pull them out and and do my thing with them. But yeah, it's crazy how much of an impact that is. It's not just one single getting taken off the air. It's this massive catalog of music for decades and decades that is people are going to miss, and I think a lot of people are sort of realizing that.
But I think people are going to miss it on that platform.
Yes. Yeah,
I think
the people who use that platform are going to miss it. Yeah, it's still out there.
Right. Yeah. I think it's still going to be there, and I think that might be part of becoming more sophisticated. In if you just want the machine, then that's the machine.
Yeah.
If you want the artistry, here's where you go for the artistry, right? So you find a platform that pays the artist for what they're providing, what they're creating. So I actually wonder if there's that kind of a shift happening, because I think especially with Neil, like the reach is just far too huge, like you're saying, right?
I think maybe that's getting, what you're saying is maybe it's getting more defined, the way that you support artists online, because it's been all kind of Wild West where people just, someone develops like Napster back in the day, someone's made that, and this is suddenly how everyone's getting music, and then people are springboarding off that and making their own platforms. And I think, it's now that we've had this, especially with 2 years locked down and everyone's online, people are sort of figuring out, okay, how can I actually support the artist and get the quality I want, and things like Bandcamp are doing a job with that, where it's you can buy directly. I buy stuff on Bandcamp, and I never used to buy stuff online, but because I can pay the artist directly, and it makes sense, right? So
and it's funny too, I think it was Don Amaro, maybe someone else, a local musician somewhere, posted the irony that Napster's the highest paying streaming service now.
Hilarious.
It's like, you're the one that started this.
Well, they eventually figured it out, and I guess hopefully for musicians' sake, the other ones are going to come around and find a way to pay more, because you look at the stats on Spotify and how much they pay per stream, and it's pretty dismal.
I mean, to the point, I don't even care about streams. Like I don't need to check my stats. I don't need to know I just know that that's just like part of what I do. But again, because we're such in that rural market where they don't have necessarily, they can't stream off of their phones because the internet's bad, and you can't you just can't rely on that while you're driving. So you've got a 6 CD changer in your truck, and all I want to do is just have one of my CDs in the truck, and then I win. Right? That's the way that I look at it. So we're actually going to end up pressing pressing albums still. I mean, but if the other part
I'm
is
glad,
that,
as a stubborn nerd, I'm glad that you're pressing albums, because I have your other 3 CDs, and I'm looking forward to getting the next one.
yeah, absolutely. So we're just trying to figure out how we want to package it all up. Like I said, between the stuff we're doing, with the big studios, and the stuff that we're doing with our own band sound, it's kind of like there's probably 2 albums coming. That's probably what's going to happen. So
Right on.
But